Welcome to Flow with Arman Asadi. Well, that was a little long there. That was like a flow, a little bit of a long flow there. Oh, I'm in a silly mood. I hope you're in a silly mood. And if you're not, I hope you start feeling pretty silly because life's got a lot going on, and a little bit of humor, a little bit of silliness, a little bit of taking it easy doesn't hurt once in a while, especially for us type A, get shit done type folks. Speaking of getting shit done, I have who I believe is one of the most incredible executives in the house today. Someone who I've known since the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. Someone who I'm calling an exceptional executive, the exceptional executive. And yes, that was a play on the effective executive for those of you that are catching on to that. JCron is his name, JCron. He is known by the name JCron. I'm talking about Jonathan Cronstedt, and he has been in this industry of digital marketing, online business for pretty much a decade. Before that, he was in real estate, but he has grown into becoming one of the most well-known figures in this industry and has led multiple companies that you may have heard of. Most likely you've heard of if you also are in this industry. And I got a chance today to sit down with him and talk to him about a lot of really important things, really closely related to his career and how he determined to become an executive rather than to become, kind of like a solopreneur or entrepreneur, which I think is really interesting, understanding how people find flow in their careers, of course. And we also talk about the industry that he's currently in as the president of Kajabi, which is an e-learning platform that allows you to create your own courses and essentially create your own business from scratch. They are like an end-to-end solution for e-learning, and a tool that I've actually used before myself. So I didn't do this during the episode, so I thought I would do this right now. Just a quick chronology on JCron's sort of bio resume here. So first he started in real estate, and then he made this huge leap and was mentored by, he got his first mentor. He was mentored by Joe Polish, who is the head of the Genius Network and also runs his own podcast, I Love Marketing. Very well-known dude, one of the most prolific networkers that's out there. After that, he was VP of consulting for Chet Holmes, Ultimate Sales Machine, that book, if that rings a bell. Absolutely legendary dude. He worked with Mike Koenigs when he was running Traffic Geyser. And of course, you should know Mike Koenigs was episode number 26 on the show. Legendary dude. He was VP at GKIC, Dan Kennedy's company. After that, around the time I met him, he was, I think he was on his way to becoming CEO at Digital Marketer. Now, if you don't know digitalmarketer.com, pretty much the biggest company, website, blog, resource, everything in the digital marketing space. Huge company. They run the massive event yearly, semi-yearly. Mush, be quiet. My puppy's playing around me. They run Traffic and Conversion Summit, which is a huge event. And that's how I actually met JCron, like probably 8-9 years ago when I had just first left Google and everyone was going, oh, there's JCron. There's JCron. And then someone asked me to come sit at the table where he was eating dinner, who happened to be a friend of a friend. And the next thing you know, I'm sitting next to JCron. I'm like, oh my God, it's JCron. And now here I am talking to him on my podcast. How cool is life? So after that, he became general manager at Success Academy. And today he's president of Kajabi. So with that said, kick back, enjoy this episode. Now, before we dive in real quick, make sure as you are listening that you are actually subscribed to the show on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. Hit the follow button on Spotify. Subscribe. That's how you'll get notifications on the next episode. And secondly, if you want access to my free masterclass, my course that we're going to be talking about on this episode, just text me #masterclass at 619-825-2595. If you are an entrepreneur or business owner, you have to watch this masterclass. This is like free 1 hour of absolute fire content, my best stuff on copywriting. If you don't know what copywriting is how to use words to engage and effectively and authentically persuade and move someone from being a prospect to becoming a customer. A very important skill. So check it out. With that said, enjoy this episode with the one and only JCron. I've been listening to Esther Perel a lot lately. Are you familiar with her?
Mm-mm.
Oh man, you're gonna love her. Your wife might love her even more. So she's this. Where is she from originally? I want to say she's German. She's a German psychoanalyst, therapist, really popular for relationship oriented type stuff. Yeah, definitely check out her TED Talk. I think she has like 2 or 3 TED Talks, but books, everything on relationships, sex, marriage, cheating, why it happens, how to work around it, all this stuff. It's like really real shit that, you know, a lot of people dance around, or you get like the spiritual guru who tries to talk about it, but it's not. There's no depth and there's no experience in having actually done counseling and therapy for people. She's seen, you know, thousands of people. So it's really, really interesting stuff.
Very
I think
cool.
you'll really like it.
I am going to write that one down.
Yeah.
My little James Clear notebook that I have here.
Oh, nice. Esther Perel.
Nice.
Yeah, you'll love her. Have you talked to Neil lately?
I talk to Neil probably every week. So
Really?
Yeah, Daddy Patel. You know, he's a constant enigma. No, I love geeking out with him about everything and anything, you know, from life to online marketing. But yeah, Neil and I talk often. I continue my campaign to try and get him to move down to Orange County. I've not succeeded yet, but I'm going to keep pushing.
He'd have more space.
I crack up too because he always calls you Batman because
Yeah.
I think that whatever it was, when he was typing your name into his phone, it autocorrects to Batman, and so he just started calling you Batman, which I think is probably one of the greatest ways to get called Batman ever.
Accidental. I didn't have to earn it.
Hey, dude.
Yeah, man. You know, yeah.
However it happened. So
he's a great dude. Well, thanks for all the support with Evo, by the way. Like over the last few years, like you've always been like supporting. You bought the planner, reaching out.
Dude, I was kind of pot committed. I mean, like I've known you and Chad since like back in iPhone apps being new, and that was what, like 11 years ago or 10 years ago or something insane. So I mean, you know, I was pot committed before I even knew what you guys were working on. I'm like, yeah, sure, totally, man.
No, I appreciate it though, man. I think I remember one message or email too. You gave some like really good feedback on a couple things, and I think you tested the app and all kinds of stuff. So
might have been me, man. But also you got a lot of really smart friends, so you know it could have been you confusing me with somebody else. You know, I'm really the one that's entertaining and handsome. I don't know if it's the wise. I would really get that moniker, but you know, I'm fine.
Dude, I wish we were sharing the video for this interview to see how handsome you are.
Yeah, but, right. Yeah. Just for all of you listening to the audio, the only video you're missing is both Arman and I wearing hats and T-shirts. And actually, I'm very thankful we're not on video. This is not a good lighting for me. No, this it doesn't do me justice at all.
Well, you know why I wear the hat, bro. I don't know if it's why you wear the hat. I'm covering up my no hair day. It's like just not even a bad hair.
No, there's no doubt. I got the no hair day going on for sure. I mean, you know, dude, I'm at this point in COVID, I'm getting like illicit back alley haircuts in the garage of my hair guy, and I can't even tell you who my hair guy is because he's not supposed to be giving out garage haircuts.
Same conversation I've had. Oh man, cool, JCron. Well, okay, where I really want to kick off and dive in is something that I'm deeply fascinated about with you is your career path, because you have a very distinct career path. And I mean, in the intro, I've already gone over this because I'll record this later, but it's like you've worked for some of the most incredible people, incredible companies. You've been there at the beginning stages of some of these companies. You've come in the middle to late stages of some of these companies. These are huge multi-million dollar companies. And you've had a very specific career path of being a leader, being an executive. And I'm always fascinated by how people determine the path that is best for them, because across all the experience you've had, you've seen so many different industries. You know how online business works better than anybody I know, because you've seen so many different industries and you've been at the top C-level or executive level in all these companies. And you could easily go and say, I don't know, hire some guy to start an e-commerce company for you tomorrow. Or you could go and do something more independent, like just consulting. What I'm curious about is what drives the decision to be an executive at these companies, and how did you land in that position where you went from one to another, and they're all incredible, recognizable names. So talk to me about that path, that decision. Was it intentional? Like, I'm going to be an executive at these companies for a specific reason because it works for me and my character? Or is it something you just kind of landed on?
Well, it's funny. I mean, and I don't talk about this often because it's really intimidating to people, but I am the ultimate strategist. And every step of my career, I carefully planned out very early on. I mean, it was literally like a chess game that I knew every move ahead, and I just watched it all unfold before my eyes. And if you believe that, I've also got some swampland in Florida I'd like to sell you. I would say that I joke about this often, and it's kind of that God watches out for fools and little children, and I'm kind of half of both. But when I look back, and I go back to that Steve Jobs quote, which is, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. You can never do it looking forwards. And I would say there are a couple of foundational principles that I would say have served me well on the journey. And then I would say that there's been a couple of decision points that when I went left instead of right, it just worked in my favor. And it wasn't any type of divine intervention, just more divine coincidence. So I would say that the one thing that has always served me well, and what has probably led me to more meaningful relationships, friendships, executive roles, is this is an industry where most often people are only taking a role in a company because they want to learn enough to then be the guy running their own company. That it's highly personality driven. So you end up hiring people where there's this shelf life of, I know that you want to be the guy, but you're going to work for the guy, but there's going to come a time where you're going to leave and then go do your own thing. And so it can prompt a very challenging working relationship, because it's sort of like you're hiring people, but you're teaching them your secret sauce. You're teaching them who your customers are. You're sharing confidential and proprietary information about those customers and how you acquire them. And you end up with somebody who eventually becomes your competitor that you groom. And I would say for me, what always did really well for me, I never wanted to be that guy. That, when I was working in a personality business, whether it be, with people like Mike Koenigs or Chet Holmes or Tony Robbins or Bill Glazer, Dan Kennedy, Ryan Dice, Roland Frazier, Perry Belcher, all of these individuals that have amazing, amazing brands. I never was in this position where I was like, I'm going to go start my own brand. I'm going to learn how Ryan Dice did it, and then I'm going to go be JCron. For me, it was always very much a mutually beneficial, servant-oriented role where it was like, I'm coming in to amplify your brand, and I'm going to be rewarded in doing so, but I'm not amplifying your brand on a shelf life of then starting my own. So I think for me, that's always been very, very different, because I would meet people that were in executive capacities for other companies, and it was just so transparent that it's like, all right, so you don't really like what you're doing. You're just hoping to learn enough and make enough that you're like going to then go do your own thing.
That's a huge majority of people. You're right.
Well, and in this industry, it's very common, because it's sort of like you have only a couple of paths. Path number one is, man, I'm either part-time or full-time. I'm pursuing this relentlessly while supporting myself with another job outside of the industry. I'm using that to fund my passion in hopes of transitioning. That's option one. Option two is, I'm just going to get a job in the industry, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to grow, and I'm going to pull all that information out, and then I'm going to launch my own thing. And that's really the path that I found a lot of people took. And I know a lot of people in this industry that are hesitant to hire or hesitant to build a team because they've been burned by that before. Like, it's like, I'm going to hire some great people, and then it's like, oh, I'm going to go be my own guy. And it's like, that's cool, but man, like, that's not what we were working on. Like, we had an agreement, you're going to be my guy, we're going to do this together. So that's always served me very, very well. I would like to think, and for anybody who I've worked for that's listening to this, if I'm wrong, I need you to call me out, because then I got to stop saying this shit on podcasts. But I would say that everyone I've ever worked for, number one, would hire me back and work with me again. And number two, would always say that I put their brand first. I knew that I was there to build their brand. I was there to amplify their mission. I was there to be a part of a corporate structure that was achieving the goals that they set out, not to be the MC in an event, but, keep blasting my Twitter handle at every break to, get people to look at me kind of thing. So that was a big one. And then the other one that I would say has always served me well is really putting relationships first. Relationships have always been a priority to me. I started in this industry as kind of what would be termed a joint venture marketer, product launch coordinator. It was really having a whole lot of people that I could call up, talk to, and say, hey, got a great offer. What are we doing with it? And that really built this foundation of relationships are going to matter far more, because in any industry, if you're in it long enough, you're going to realize that the toes you step on the way up are connected to the ass you're going to have to kiss on the way down. And when you're the person who really thinks, oh my gosh, just did a $10 million product launch, I'm God's gift to this industry, you're probably about 6 months away from begging the same people that supported you to help you because you didn't pay your taxes, you forgot to pay your affiliates, you forgot to calculate the returns, and now you're like, oh man, I'm not nearly as good as I thought I was. So
you've seen that before, by the way.
Oh my gosh, and everyone will remain nameless, all confidential, but yeah, everybody knows who those people are.
Yes.
But it's very much something in my career, the relationship element is what allowed me to move between organizations that you don't see a lot of people that have been a part of a lot of different great companies. And so again, going back to that service mentality, but also putting the relationship first, those are really the two things that have allowed it. And then the weaving of those brands and how I got from place to place is far more about just meeting people, having conversations that then expanded into opportunities. It sounds overly simplified, but honestly, that really is it. There's no grand formula other than just do good work for good people, be available to chat with anybody and add value to their life, and then just do it long enough that you get to see the fruit of your labor versus jumping from industry to industry and never getting to harvest what's been planted.
Fuck. Yeah, you nailed it, man. So you have this person, this very archetypal person in the industry who goes into companies, has their own dream, wants to leave, almost hides it, by the way, and I've been burned.
Well, you have to. Because I mean, like if you come in and you're like, hey, by the way, Arman, I love what you're doing with Evo. I have my own brain framework and physical planner idea. And so what I was thinking is I'm going to work for you for a year, learn all of your contacts, connections, and processes. And then I'm going to go launch a competing planner. You're going to be like, yeah, dude, why don't you just go do that now? And I'm going to keep doing my thing. So
I don't know if I'd say yes to that request, but I would say yes to a request that was like, yo, Arman, I want to learn how to run a company. I want to learn how to launch a physical product business. I want to learn how to do a crowdfunding campaign. I want to learn how to create great culture, yada, yada, yada. And then I want to go do it myself, not in a directly competing way. To that, I would say, wait a second. So you're telling me you're going to give me a year, 2 or 3 of sweat, and you're really going to put it in, help me build my dream? Absolutely, I'll help you build your dream. In fact, I wish that more people were transparent about that up front, because I do think there is a way that can work. But yeah, I see why you have to hide it. So there is that person that comes in and hides it, whether they do their thing on the side or they wait until the end. But you aren't that guy. Why is that? What is it about you that let's just I want to understand that a little more deeply. Like, why do you not want to throw your Twitter handle up? What is it about you that's content with what you are doing in the role that you play?
I think that it ultimately depends on why you're doing what you're doing and what you're really motivated by. There are so many people in this industry that if they were given the choice between being broke and famous or rich and anonymous, they would choose broke and famous. And I think for me, I never came at this industry from the perspective of I want to be my own rock star in a really small world. I always approached this industry as this industry is the closest I will ever get to integrating lifestyle and opportunity, and whatever it means to be a part of that, I'm in. Whatever I need to learn, whatever I need to do, whoever I need to do it for. My outcome was, how do I have this amazing quality of life? And I think for me as well, the elements of quality of life, of harmony and integration of work life, it's something that a lot of the things to be the guy in the industry, you're going to have to do stuff that for a significant portion of your career is going to work counterproductively to the balance and the freedom you're seeking.
Absolutely.
I for one, I hate social media. I'm a vocal detractor from platforms. Like I believe that authenticity is the new currency, and the world is getting very tired of waking up every morning immediately depressed by comparing somebody's highlight reel to your cutting room floor. And then, literally watching people take life experiences, whether it be a meal, hanging out with friends, a concert, whatever you're doing, and everyone's viewing it through their screen. Like, you're not even enjoying what you're doing because you're so busy trying to get the right filter and the right frame. And it's just, we have jumped the shark in social media. And so I think in this industry, especially if you're going to be a personality-driven individual, you're almost going to be trading that privacy, trading that intimacy, trading that authenticity, and you're going to be trading it for the highlight reel. You're going to be trading it for the expectation of you being always on, always available, no matter what. You're at my beck and call because I'm buying you. And I think that for me, I've never wanted to do that. And so I've just never been wired to say, yeah, that trade-off is what I'm going to do. Like, for me, if I was, and hypothetically, what I'm doing at Kajabi right now is the most happy and fulfilled I've ever been in my life. Like, we get to have a brand, a company, and a platform that serves entrepreneurs, but it's not the Kenny and JCron show. It's the Kajabi show, which is the greatest thing in the world. But like, were I even to ever launch some type of business in this industry at some point in the future down my path or whatever, I wouldn't be the guy that, was the personality guy. I wouldn't be the guy that was the social guy. I would be the guy that just was trying to figure out, all right, what ads, what funnels, and what amazing transformational delivery is taking place. But I would skip all of the surface social interaction because it's just anathema to me. Like, give me anything but that.
So there was a lot of intention behind this decision. And if I had to guess before we talked, I was wondering if that was part of the reason. It reminds me.
I wouldn't call it intention, because I think intention implies that I knew what I was doing. I think that I was very fortunate. Joe Polish was my first mentor in the industry, and I back then had no idea how lucky I was. I chose a mentor before I really knew what to look for in one. And that was transformational in my career. I still to this day probably thank Joe once a quarter for everything that he's meant in this industry to me. But I think it's something where I've been aware of what was important to me and aware of how I could serve others and have a mutually beneficial equation. But I don't know that I would say I was intentional, because there were definitely seasons where I was like, everyone's doing the social thing. Like, it seems like that is correlated with success. Yeah. And then I jumped into the social thing for a week and I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, this is not associated with success. I'm busier than I've ever been. I'm more stressed, more bothered, more triggered than I've ever been. And holy shit, all the numbers that matter they're not growing. So it was like
vanity metrics that you don't own, by the way. You don't.
No, I'm out. Like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, no thanks. So I wish I could tell you it was intentional, that like I knew that social was not the leverage point, but it really wasn't. Like, I was just like, I'm going to try this, and I'm like, this doesn't really make sense, and I'm not really fueled by like a bunch of strangers telling me how awesome my breakfast looks on Instagram. Kind of out.
Oh man, I just posted my breakfast. I'm just kidding, dude. You are so right, man. It's and it just reminds me how these vanity metrics are absolutely meaningless. You don't even own the audience, especially for those people that are on social media. TikTok gets shut down tomorrow. It looks like it might be if Microsoft doesn't take it. There's all these things that happen, like when Vine got shut down. How many people spent so much time building up their audience? But specifically around this notion of what you've done versus building a personality forward sort of business, would you say then that you value stability? Because a theme that I'm hearing is lifestyle, stability, the ability to have a life outside of work. Are those values for you?
I would say it's funny. You would assume from a lot of the things I'm sharing that I love work-life balance. I don't really have any. Like, one of my favorite quotes is The Master by LP Jacks, which Master in the Art of Living by LP Jacks. I won't read you the whole thing because it's a long one, but the TLDR concluding element of the quote is, everyone wonders if he's working or playing, but to him, he's always doing both. And so to me, I've never been the guy where it's like, nope, 5 o'clock, I'm out. And I've never been the guy that it's like 9 a.m., I'm in. It's basically whatever I need to do, whenever I need to do it, for whomever I need to do it to further the outcome I'm seeking. that's just what I do. Like, I'm not the guy that I'm like, oh, I'm at the gym, I won't pick up my phone when I'm 30 minutes into a 1 hour session on a cardio machine. I don't really have a lot of boundaries. I only have, how does this feel? And if it feels great, I'm going to keep doing it, doing more of it, trying to optimize it along the way. But I really view all of that stuff as being integrated, that I think that there are far too many people that they fall into this idea du jour of whether it be the one thing or essentialism or right. Cal Newport's deep work or like Cal Newport's digital minimalism. Like, people fall in love with the system and then they worship the system and they don't think about that the system only exists to drive your results. And if you have something that's driving results, and I'll give Tim Ferriss credit for this, he says all the time, people always leave good in search of perfect. And I think that for me, I've always just looked at my life and it's, at whatever, whether it's a weekly, monthly, yearly, however you want to do it, cadence wise, am I closer? Am I liking it? What would I change? How do I feel? But I don't know that I really have any hard and fast boundaries. Stability would be one that if my wife was here answering that question, she'd laugh and say, absolutely not. Like, you've had tons of jobs over the years. And, and I would say that for me, I was always looking for opportunity, but I also was very in tune to, am I enjoying this, or does this opportunity that's in front of me excite me more than what I'm doing? So I don't know that stability would be the term. I would say fulfillment is really what I'm always seeking. So it's like, if I'm not fulfilled in what I'm doing, I'm probably very quick to say, all right, cool, not this, try something else. And, that might be something that, you never know. Like, I look back at how I got into this industry. I was in the mortgage business and I was, 6 inches wide and 3 miles deep on the mortgage business. Mortgage business goes away. So I was like, well, shit, I better find something else. So I went to digital marketing, and it worked out for me. So very happy, love what I'm doing. But if I'm looking back on it and how I would advise me, were I looking at me in that situation, I would have looked back and I would have said, you really know mortgages, and the mortgage market is cyclical. And I watched a lot of my friends transition from mortgages into loan modifications, and from loan modifications into debt settlement, and from debt settlement right back into a giant run up of mortgage refinances yet again. And so it's one of those things where I think for me at the time, based on my immaturity, the easiest path was, I'm just going to go reinvent myself somewhere else and have fun with it. But looking back on it, I had 5 years of a data set of knowledge that I don't know that I appreciated or valued. And so I had to start over. Like, if you look at anybody in any industry, there's normally a 5 to 10 year window of all of a sudden you're an overnight success. But really, if you talk to that person, you're a 5 year or 10 year overnight success. And when you look at, whenever you change industries, whenever you change paths, whenever you change product lines, whenever you make that transition, there is a switching time, and most people don't value how far they've come and everything they've learned. And it's like, no, I'm just going to start fresh. And it's like, yeah, but it's sort of like, take somebody like, a great example is my father-in-law, worked at Boeing for 37 years, running a jig build shop. And a jig build shop, if you think about the intellectual complexity, you're basically hand making tools that those tools will then be used to build an airplane. So the tool doesn't exist to hold the wing at a certain angle while you screw the thing, like, make that tool. Okay, great, I'm going to make the tool. Then you use the tool, like, tremendous amount of knowledge amassed over 37 years of building airplanes. And I'm like, well, you're retiring. What do you want to do? He's like, I really want to, start an online business doing blank. And I'm like, well, why don't you set up a consulting and knowledge business around helping companies set up jig build shops? Like, 37 years, let me ask you a question. When Boeing had it set up, was it done right? He goes, oh no, we had to switch everything, had a bunch of tools that we needed that they didn't have. The order of everything was wrong, redid everything for efficiency. I'm like, dude, that's a business. And he's like, yeah, but I don't really want to do that. I really want to be in a different type of, whether it's e-commerce or whether it's some other element of online marketing. And I'm like, all right, but you got to know right now you're 37 years deep on this, and you're going to be able to create results much faster, because whatever path you choose next, there's going to be that learning curve. And to his credit, he's digging it. He's enjoying it. The learning curve is fun. He's actually built an iPhone app and he's having fun learning. But it's one of those things that I look back on it and it's like, that knowledge base of 37 years has tremendous financial value that is unrealized because it's not being tapped. And so I think it's one of those things that, like, being able to find either a way to really value the insights you have, or find something that is tangential but close enough that you're still benefiting from your knowledge set, that's where the big win is. Like, for me, digital was a huge transition. I was in the mortgage business. We sent out direct mail letters and sold over the phone. No digital marketing whatsoever. So when I jumped into digital, it was like, this is brand new. And I had no idea what I was doing for at least the first few years. So
wow, wild, man. That all resonates with me so much, and it's all so true. I want to say, by the way, I'm going to include the quote you mentioned in the show notes because it's one of my favorite quotes of all time. And I had it on my website, on my About page until like a month ago. So it deeply resonates with me as well. You're talking a lot about the way you're gauging and measuring then comes down to fulfillment. And I love that word because I think it's very subjective. It's up to each person. How do you then gauge your level of fulfillment? In particular, you said earlier in the conversation, I'm the happiest and most fulfilled I've ever been working at Kajabi right now. Why do you think that is?
I would say Kajabi is probably the most factors that bring me joy combined in one place that I've ever experienced. It's so amazing to see a platform that truly powers transformation in the lives of entrepreneurs and their families. And being able to not only be in a growing and exciting industry that is constantly iterating, that, it's not, it's not like we're in consumer packaged goods and, it hasn't changed in 500 years. And how do we sell more Gillette razor blades? Like, it's constantly changing. The way that this industry is impacting the lives that they serve is all over the map all the time. And so it's tremendously exciting to see all of the new ways, the new things we can build, the new tools that we can create. That's a big part of it. So I would say for me, the innovation side driving excitement and novelty for what we get to do, huge part of it. Second part of it is definitely the impact and transformation on entrepreneurs. When you look at, transformation stories that range from, I now have a part-time business in retirement and my wife and I basically hop on my motorcycle, drive all around the United States. And all I do is whenever we're tired of riding, hop into a hotel room, open up my laptop, answer the emails, do the coaching calls. And I now have a lifestyle business I never had before. That's a gentleman he was a fire chief who handled interviewing fire cadets. And all he did for 20 years was interview fire cadets. And so when he got out, he's like, becoming a fireman is really competitive. I bet a lot of people out there would love to learn how to nail the interview process.
Yeah.
So he created a business on helping future aspiring fire cadets to ace the interview process. And he and his wife toured the US on their motorcycle and handle the business whenever they're done riding. Then you've got, individuals that have had 7- and 8-figure businesses launched in this industry on the platform. And the results have been unfathomably transformational, not, lifestyle wise, but now I'm in an entirely different world, hiring people, building an enterprise, maybe even something that becomes sellable down the line. So getting to see the variety of transformation has also been amazing. And I would say for us, the transformation is meaningful, not Instagram cartoon characters. Like, we don't really get people that are like, hey, check out my shiny car. Hey, check out my shiny house. Hey, check out my boat party. Like, that's not really who Kajabi speaks to and who really has the tremendous and sustainable success on the platform. It's the type of people like, Leah McHenry. She's a Celtic metal musician, mother of 5, homeschooling her kids. And here she is looking at, what do? I want to homeschool my kids, but I can't make any money if I'm not touring. I'm going to figure out how to sell my music via Facebook ads. And she's like starting to see a lot of results with it. She's like, there are a lot of musicians out there that wish they could follow their craft without going on tour. I'm going to create a course for musicians to learn how to use Facebook ads. And so she ends up, long story longer, basically multi-7-figure business in her first year, takes her husband out of his long-haul trucking job, has the flexibility to homeschool their kids. And their big first purchase was they bought a dining table to seat 12 because with 5 kids, they had never had a dining table that actually could seat their whole family and their friends in one place. And it's like, That's the kind of stuff that is the real possibility that this industry represents. And as we look into all of the future of it, whether it's the connected billions of everyone getting broadband internet for the first time that are literally going to want all the same shit we want, going to want to learn all the same shit we want to learn. That's exciting. The global opportunity, the transfer of knowledge, and the ability to really challenge some of the long-held educational beliefs where it's like, go write a $250,000 check, spend 4 years in a classroom, and today you could pay $45,000 a year to Harvard for Zoom classes, or you could go pay $45 for a course on Kajabi and learn everything else you wanted to.
That's right.
It's a fun time to be in this industry. And so whether it's the innovation of the industry, whether it's the transformation of the entrepreneurs, that combination and cocktail, plus the team that we have at Kajabi, I've never been surrounded by more people that are more committed to the entrepreneurs that we serve.
200 people, you said?
We're about to cross over 200. And I mean, we just opened up our new 51,000 square foot office here. It's COVID, so we can't go in, but we know it's there and we're excited about it.
Yeah.
But it's very much something where our core values have really helped drive that growth. And the number one core value is the Kajabi hero. Everything we do starts with their story, ends with their success. And it's cool to get to walk into an environment where everybody is singularly focused on that.
Yeah.
So I would say the innovation of the industry, transformation of the entrepreneurs, the inspiration of our team. Those would be the three-part cocktail that have me really, really happy to get to do what I do.
Yeah, man.
And not to mention the CEO Kenny, who is co-founder of the company, tremendous visionary. Again, sort of that formula in my career where I'm really happy to serve with him and to amplify his vision for the company. It's been a spectacular friendship, working relationship. I mean, I can't believe that 4 years have flown by. So
yeah, man. Well, this is also a very interesting time for your industry in particular. I mean, every single industry is impacted, but with distance learning, e-learning in general, so many things shifting online. You made the Harvard example. They're still charging full tuition. That was in the news a little while ago. To still, continue to be a student at Harvard requires the full tuition to learn online. So there's all these various opportunities to learn from Kajabi, to learn from edX, to learn from fucking Khan Academy. I mean, it really doesn't matter. It's all out there. I've talked to various people that either run or are involved in companies like yours, and they've all seemed to had very different reactions to their actual business in terms of what's going on in the economy. Has this been good? Has this been challenging for?
I would say Kajabi for our users across the board, it's been spectacular. Now, spectacular in the sense of their Kajabi journey. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I think there are a lot of people out there whose jobs have been massively impacted. I mean, the economic carnage that this is driving for people that, quite frankly, it's soul crushing to see, all of the restaurants and all of the passion-driven small businesses that this is just decimating.
My favorite burger shop just closed. I actually almost cried.
And that's somebody that, that was their passion. They wanted to do it. I mean, very few people get into the restaurant business because they think they're going to make money. It's just, love food, love people. I'm going to do this. So I would say that the Kajabi portion has been pretty tremendous for our users. I mean, if you look at the fact that it took us about 9.5 years to get to $1 billion sold through the platform, and our user base is now nearly run rating $1 billion in volume annually.
Hell yeah.
So when you see the user base and how much of their information and transformation they're offering to the world, it's been tremendously impactful. So I think it's something where you have a lot of people that over the years, most people don't make adjustments until they have to. Yeah. So the idea of what role does digital play in my world? Now, all of a sudden people are like, holy shit, I have to go digital. So that's been a very powerful motivator. But I think also a lot of people are really reevaluating like, well, this is an element of new normal and who knows for how long. And during this period of new normal, I still want to learn. I still want to better myself. I still want to improve my ability to impact. I still want to improve my ability to educate my kids, whatever it happens to be. Yeah. And this portal of broadband internet is basically my only path to it. So I think that for everybody who right now is looking for something other than just the next Netflix binge, everybody who's looking for a business that they've always wanted to start, I think there are just a lot of stars aligning that you're seeing this industry that most people had some tacit awareness of. It's now really been thrust into the forefront, very similar to like Zoom. And, I think it's something that will We'll see a little bit of, people returning to normal and, going back to their jobs, and maybe they're not as focused on launching that business in
Yeah.
full-time focus mode. But I think all of the awareness that has been created about the industry being a thing, the awareness of the education, the awareness of the opportunity, that's definitely, you're not putting that genie back in the bottle. And I think it's going to continue to power a lot of businesses for, decades to come.
Definitely. And I mean, I don't know if you've seen, you can probably, you know this data probably as well as like, was there a surge in the number of students joining or the number of instructors? Because, one example I have.
Surge across the board.
Yeah, I
we
bet.
not only saw a ton of new users, ton of new students for new users, but also a huge surge in existing users that are redoubling down, growing, expanding, serving new students, coming up with new ways to serve new students. So it was really a massive, massive surge in every category across the board. I mean, we went virtual when COVID really started to ramp up in California. We went virtual March 11th. And if you think about it, we've now been virtual for coming up on 5 months. And since we've been virtual, we've probably hired, 40, 50 people. So, I mean, when we go back to the office, whenever that is, there are 40 to 50 people that I've never even met in person that we have hired purely to support and equip the entrepreneurs based on the demand that's, on our platform right now.
Okay, that answers that. Because I mean,
we're betting into it.
My guess was, you look at people who have had a dream to create their own course, for example, just that side of the equation. The issue is often time. The ability to have creative time to sit down and structure the course curriculum, the outline, who's going to do the video production, where am I going to do it? Well, now you're sitting at home and you have all the time in the world to get creative and have the mind space to do that. I mean, as you said, this quarantine and the pandemic has been crushing in so many ways, but there are also these hidden gifts in it. And for those people that stepped up and started taking action, like an example for me, this isn't a course, but it's a creative outlet. This podcast is a gift of the quarantine. The only reason I started it is because I finally had the space in my mind and my day, and I didn't have to go to the office and I didn't have to do certain things that I was doing before. I got an hour or two back every day. And so I was able to do that. So that's fantastic, man.
This season is definitely, you're going to have a lot of people come out of it and they're either going to be bitter or they're going to be better. There's really no other option. You're either going to be looking back on it as, the world totally screwed me over. The government didn't provide enough relief. Everything in my life was ruined. Or you're going to look at all of the things you did that you never had done before. And there's really no options. And it's not a callousness or a lack of awareness of the tremendous adversity that some people are experiencing right now. That's very real. I'm not taking that lightly. So, anybody who's listening and going through that, it's certainly something that is very real. But it really is refocusing on what you have the ability to control and impact. And I think that so many people right now are locked into this 24-hour negative news cycle and, living in front of the television, waiting for something to change. And it's like, man, just go outside and go for a walk, get some fresh air, write that book, come up with that business plan, learn to paint, whatever the hell you want to do, because this time of sort of the universe all agreeing that we're all in our homes and we're all not on regular schedules, it's never going to be again. And, looking back on it, when world gets normal again and we all go back to work again and everyone's like, wow, I really wish I had a time to do blank. And it's like, you're not realizing you're in that time. You're just missing it. And it really is something that I hope more and more people truly take advantage of it, because as you look at any period of tremendous upset in the United States or abroad, those are the times where new businesses are born, where new opportunities are materialized. And you see those opportunities and businesses completely reshape things going forward. And there will be people that come out of this with completely transformed lives and businesses, and everybody else will be wondering what happened.
100%. And I, in particular, have to speak about my love for e-learning. So e-learning transformed my life. Creating a course, having a course, taking courses has transformed my life. When I made my jump, it was from Google. And I left Google in 2011, something like that. No, 2012. Fuck. Who knows? And when I made that leap, one of the first things that I decided to build was a digital course. And what I did, you talked about taking something you know and at least trying to apply it or some sort of tangential opportunity around it. Well, what I did, I created a course called Effortless Email. And I was actually working on the Google Apps team, which Gmail, Google, which is now called Google Suite. I worked directly with companies implementing, establishing Google Suite into their companies. These were like large mid-market companies. And I took that experience of what I had learned and I created a course mostly focused on freeing up people's time and giving them more productivity in their inbox to get away from their inbox using all these various cool hacks.
I remember, was it Inbox Mastery? Was that your first course, or what was called Inbox Zero?
Effortless Email, and it was all about, it was all about, You've always been a supporter, man. And that course changed my life. Now, when I first launched it, it was like, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. It was brand new to digital marketing, brand new to creating anything. Creating that course took so much time and energy. And then I kind of put it out there and I was like, And that's how I stumbled on copywriting as a path toward actually selling beyond just needing to spend thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars on Facebook ads. I was like, wait a second. I need to learn the skill of copywriting because that'll really help me sell this thing organically without having a huge budget. So then that started a whole other journey. But point being, that course generated a lot of money for me. It gave me freedom. It changed my life. It allowed me to travel the world. I met people. I earned affiliates and relationships and met a JV manager, and all these various things happen. Fast forward now. Founder Magazine, I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. They have courses as well. And they're kind of more of a publication. And they come up to various specialists and they ask them kind of like masterclass. And they say, hey, would you like to do a course on X, Y, and Z topic? They have a suite of courses for founders, for entrepreneurs. They asked me to do one on copywriting. That course has made me a lot of money, makes me look really cool. It's all fancy, high production. It's badass. And it has transformed the lives of so many people. I think today on my Instagram story, I posted an example of another message. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. I'm literally looking at my phone right now. Hi, this is Mahi Azizi. I just watched your copywriting masterclass with Nathan, blah, blah, blah. So that's literally right now. And I'm getting these messages all day long of helping people, transforming their lives, transforming their businesses. So e-learning, if I wanted to replicate that, man, I'd have to go do a speaking gig, stand in front of a room of people, give a keynote, and hope that my 10-step framework was actually absorbed in that moment and they weren't too busy scrolling on Instagram or Facebook, and they paid attention and actually took action and implemented. E-learning is an unbelievable industry. With that said, I have a few things that grind my gears that I want to talk to you about. The bastards at Udemy. I want to talk to you about that.
So we've definitely had a couple of conversations with some people that are coming out of that world. I spoke with one of their highest earning students of all time 3.5 years ago. It was right after they did their first unilateral reprice of congratulations, no matter how long or how detailed of a life you took to learn something, it's now worth $20. Deal with it. That's
unbelievable.
Well, I mean, that for Kajabi, that's one of our big core beliefs is you need to own your audience. If you don't own your audience, you don't own your business.
Correct.
Now, Udemy is a great way that if you want to go out and get lead gen, put some courses on there, get your name out there, all that, do it. Why not? But if you think that you own your business and it's a business on a platform that isn't your platform, you're done.
You're done. What do we do? A person who might be in my position, who has created a course, wants to create a course. This is a business person looking at the industry saying, okay, 10 years ago, guys like JCron and Arman were charging $2,000 for their course. Okay. All the Jeff Walkers, and I used to work for Jeff Walker, by the way. I don't know if you know that. The product launch.
I know Jeff and John very, very well. Awesome dudes. The godfather of modern day product launch formula for sure.
Yes. And charging $2,000. So that kind of happened. Actually, at one point, amazing.com was charging like $4,000 for their course, right? So, or was it 3,500? I don't remember.
Matt Clark, Jason Katz.
Yeah.
And a day of selling on Amazon.
That was like, oh my God, set a new standard. And then comes motherfucking Udemy. I'm sorry, man, but I actually, let me give like one. I love you, Udemy.
Less than an amazing cheeseburger in most markets for a lifetime of knowledge that somebody took that long to acquire.
Lifetime. And one caveat. So Effortless Email had a life cycle, my first course. I didn't continue putting a whole lot of energy into it after 2 or 3 years. To give it another life, I put it on Udemy. It actually was great until they did what they did. So I was selling it at the retail price, $197, I believe it was. And I'd offer a coupon or two here or there, but it was like another life. I gave my course to a whole nother group of people that I hadn't had before. I liked that. But then they came around and they said, your course is now $10. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So here I am. And then you got Masterclass that gives you a course with, by the way, I watched your talk and you went off about, I can learn how to dance like Usher for fucking $99. In fact, JCron, you can learn how to cook like Gordon Ramsay, dance like Usher.
And guess what? It didn't help.
Yeah.
And it's probably better than nothing, but I mean,
I thought you killed it.
I am not.
I thought you killed it. I'm going to link to that. So there's a video of JCron giving a keynote dancing to Usher after taking his masterclass. And I think you aced it, bro. So my point is they even have a version that's unlimited that my wife bought for like $199. Okay. That's every course. When you're in this seat of wanting to step into this world and you're thinking about, I have 5 years of knowledge or life's work that I want to spend 1 month recording and planning for, probably at a minimum, how do you price it and how do you actually become profitable in this industry now, given what everyone else is doing? How do you create a unique value proposition for your course that demands the value that you believe you deserve?
Oh, wow. What's so challenging about pricing is we operate in an industry where really pricing is not fixed at all. It is entirely elastic. And in my experience, pricing is far more about self-worth than it is about objective value. What would I pay if someone had a course, hypothetically, that could completely reprogram my mind to like fruits and vegetables and healthy food and keep me lean and keep me away from bad habits? I don't know, 10 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand. Can I finance it? Basically that type of transformational knowledge will have an exponential impact on my life. I don't expect to pay $20 for it. And so I think really what matters more about the price is not the objective formula of what should I charge, but far more, what are you trying to create and what are your skill sets? So if you really are the type of person that is a whiz at content production, and what you really want is a whole lot of digital courses that are smaller, bite-sized, lower price, and then have somebody buy all of them, or somebody on a monthly subscription for a membership site. That's a very different business model than someone who's like, I really like the person-to-person interaction. My bandwidth is only 10 clients a month. That's the maximum I can take. And so it's like, okay, if you're going to be deep personal work one-on-one with 10 people, what's your goal of how much you want your business to make? Because if you want your business to make 100 grand a month, it means you need to be charging $10,000 a month for each of those 10 people that you're working with. So it's less about this is what this is worth, because don't look at Udemy for your value prop. Don't look at Skillshare for your value prop. Don't look at Coursera, Lynda for your value prop. Look at your value prop. Don't look at Masterclass for your value prop either. Look at your value prop in what business do I want to create? I want to create a lot of littles, high volume, digital courses that sell in my sleep without my involvement. I want to create mid-tier group coaching add-ons to digital courses. I want to create bespoke coaching, consulting, deep personal relationships, whatever the business model is, that's the first point. Where are you best suited to create the transformation you want to create?
Gold.
Number two.
That's gold, by the way, for everybody listening.
Question
Re-listen
number
to
two
that.
is definitely, what do you want to make? I know so many people in this business that launch the business they're supposed to have and then have success and hate their business. It's kind of like people that go to law school to get a good job and realize they don't want to be an attorney, but they're pod committed. This business is no different. Someone's like, man, you know what I really want? I just want a bunch of digital courses. And then, 6 months later, you got like 13 courses at $20 a course. And you're like, man, I'm dealing with so many headaches from so many students and I'm only getting paid $20 one time to deal with it. This business model sucks. Had you known that, you probably would have said, yeah, you know what? I come from a sales career. I love high ticket. I want to put together a transformational coaching program that's for an individual that's $30,000. Great. Now you only need fewer customers to meet that number. So first is the business model based on your skill sets and what you do best naturally. Second step is, what does that business need to do? So hypothetically, if you're creating $20 courses, but you want to earn $1 million a year, how many courses does that require? Is that possible? Is that realistic? Is the market big enough? Like, for example, you might be in the personal development world. Well, is, the law of attraction and the community that follows that big enough to make $1 million a year on a $20 course? Absolutely, all day long and twice on Sunday. But if you're in the world of horse ballet, which is called dressage, are there enough people in horse ballet that are going to buy a $20 course for you to make $1 million a year? Probably not. But anybody who owns a horse probably has enough discretionary income that anything that's $20, they're probably not going to see a whole lot of value in, because they own a freaking horse. So you've got to look at where you're best suited, followed by what is that business model capable of producing based on your goals and the pricing that you can assign to it. And then you end up with a formula where you got some dials and levers. But ultimately, you're going to do all of it. You're going to have low ticket that leads to high ticket. You're going to have high ticket that then offers low ticket if the high is too much or unaffordable. You're going to end up with a product mix based around the type of transformation you want to offer, and they're all going to have different prices. It's very, very rare that you meet somebody that only has one offer. And the reason is because your market will demand more than that of you. They're going to want different ways to interact with you. They're going to want different ways to learn from you. They're going to want advancement after they've already gone through it and experienced something great. They're going to want something they can recommend to their friends and family that might be a more entry level or easier way to discover it. All of these things are going to be demanded of you from your market. And I remember Dan Kennedy saying this to me very early on. Dan Kennedy basically said, the market's appetite for information will always outpace your ability to produce it. Always. So if you're in this industry and you're doing it right and you're truly creating transformation for people, their appetite for information will always, always, always outpace your ability to produce it.
Then you got work all day long, really, if you really believe that and see that. Yeah.
If you want to capitalize on it, you got to put in the work. Or you just confidently say, this is the way I serve the industry, and you start drawing those boundaries if you want to.
That was absolute gold. I think you picked up on, I was playing a little bit of a role there because I really wanted to hear you answer that question without me adding anything to it, and having a little bit of skepticism, especially in a world where a new course creator or even an existing course creator or existing entrepreneur is looking around saying, I don't know, is e-learning still a thing? Like I'm getting murdered by masterclass. Like, is this worth it? I'm not Usher. I'm not Esther Pro. I'm not all these people.
Here's the good news. E-learning is absolutely a thing. It's a $300 billion market. It's not going anywhere. But if you're thinking you're going to show up to e-learning with some dog shit digital course that's going to sell in your sleep, no, e-learning is not a thing. Like, the easy falling off a log money to be made by creating a course that's shitty quality, that's just you parroting somebody else's course that you took that you've never applied in your own life, that's gone. Like, no, that no longer exists. Like, your ability to just plagiarize something, put it on ClickBank and make $1 million by overhyped claims, that doesn't work anymore. What does work is transformation never goes out of style. Every human being on the planet, no matter where they are in life, they have a current state and a desired state in some area of their life. Immutable law. No matter what it is, you could ask Arman, he's got them, I've got them. Every person you meet in your life has them. There's always going to be an area where my desired state doesn't match my current state. The ability to get people there will never go out of style. The technology may change. Some seasons it might be podcasting. Some seasons it might be a digital course. Some seasons it might be group coaching calls via Zoom. Some seasons it might be individual coaching. Some seasons it might be an iteration of personal involvement in augmented reality we haven't even thought of yet. All of the technology will change. And I think that's where in this industry, to quote my friend Mel Abraham, most people in it are done such a disservice because they're stuck in this mode of just in case learning versus just in time learning. They're collecting all of these methodologies and technologies in hopes that if they're aware of and working on mastering all of them, somehow the business model will present itself. And all you get to be at that point is really stressed out and a great collector of courses and technologies that you've never implemented. Just-in-time learning is basically saying, what is the transformation I provide? And then choosing any medium under the sun to provide that and letting the market dictate whether you chose the right medium or not. But the transformation is never going to get old.
That's so true and absolutely brilliant. And I'll just say, my course, the price of it is like $300, the new one, 7-figure copywriting, sells all day long. The way it's set up, provide a free training up front. We call it like a little masterclass. It's just an interview, me sitting with the guy, Nathan. We talk about copywriting. I give a bunch of value. Some people take that for free and run away and have great lives and learn a lot. And some people go, I need a little bit more. I need to go deeper. And they get a lot more. They get my brain for the last fucking 10 years of everything they could possibly pull out of me. And it's $300. And then they go and they apply that and they become a consultant, or they put it in their business, or they become a copywriter, or they're an entrepreneur and they make millions of dollars, some of them. So it's a real thing.
When you think about it, it's like, on what other planet do you have the opportunity to be able to get 10 years of somebody's brain for $300? Like, on what planet is that possible? And the answer is it's powered by digital education.
Yeah.
There's no other place where you can literally end up in this time machine of, oh my gosh, I can't believe I get to do that. And that's where I think the leverage is so powerful, but it's also so often missed by people because I think that they don't value it. And that's where, you look at what's the main difference between a $20,000 course and a $2,000 course, the level of attention you're going to pay. That's the only difference. Everyone thinks it's the information that, the secrets are in the $20,000 course. And it's like, no, the secrets are in every course. Like how you make progress, how you have an impact. Now there might be more involved support mechanisms. There might be more involved, personal coaching or tailoring of the program to your needs or different needs being met. But the reality of it is that isn't going to be what the driving force is in your transformation. It will be how much attention are you paying? And when someone pays 20 grand, it's like, oh my gosh, I am absolutely going to monetize this. I'm going to do whatever I have to get the value out of it. But where Udemy goes wrong is you don't really value someone's life's work when it's $20.
Absolutely.
And it's not that there's not 20,000 or 200,000 or $2 million in value there. It's just, yeah, you know what? I paid $40 for a steak last night. I ate half of it and the leftovers in my fridge. So I got a $20 steak in my fridge, but I don't really want it. The steak last night was great. I don't want to go through reheating it and whatever. I'm just going to throw it out. It's no different in Udemy. Like, I own tons of $20 courses that I've never gone through because I bought it on a whim, on a moment where I'm like, oh, this could be cool. And then I never went through it because I'm like, it's $20.
That's exactly right. I can
tell you this much, if I paid 20 grand for that, like if it was college tuition to go through that course, you bet your ass I would be drilling every element of that course.
JCron, do you guys have any resources that I can give people around creating the course, identifying the market, pricing, all this stuff, just kind of like knowledge-based type stuff?
We've got, so you can always check us out at kajabi.com. We always have lots of really cool stuff there. We're always doing webinars to help launch people into the business. And we also have an offer that if you just Google 28-day challenge, we have a process that's basically a group coaching experience where we're going to work to get your course live and selling in 28 days. And what's nice is it takes a 14-day trial and extends it to 28 days to give you the opportunity to really be able to leverage that.
Oh,
so
badass. Okay.
I would say Google 28-day challenge, and easy way to jump on the fast track and have some fun with it.
Wow, that's absolutely perfect. I'll definitely link to that for people. So, JCron, one of the things, when we kind of zoom back out a little bit and we look at your journey of having worked for some incredible companies, having built incredible enterprises, how and when do you decide to move on from a company? And I know that's a little bit of a tricky question. I don't mean to say that in the context of Kajabi at all. I'm just saying, kind of looking backward, how and when did you decide, this is the time for me to transition? Because I think a lot of people struggle with this.
I think it's twofold. I think Seth Godin wrote a great book about it called The Dip, where it really tries to quantify and formulaically approach, is this the time to transition, or is this the time to power through it and experience a renaissance post-powering through it? I think for me, it comes down to two main categories. One is going to be that fulfillment and excitement of, am I loving what I'm doing? Because if I'm feeling like I don't want to go to work, I don't want to show up at that office, I don't want to do what is asked of me. And I don't mean in the work sense of like, I'd rather be drinking on a beach. I mean, like, I really don't want to do what I'm doing right now. And I begin to notice that for an extended period of time. It prompts the first introspection of like, I don't like how this is feeling. What's causing it? Is it temporary? Is it permanent? Am I looking at purgatory, or am I just looking at a tough week? I think the fulfillment element is the first indicator. And that's definitely one of the things that I think also dovetails nicely into the second indicator, which is, am I not the right person, or do I not have the right skill sets for what is needed in this company?
Sometimes needed next as well. Yeah.
Totally. And I think Ryan Holiday wrote a great book, Ego is the Enemy. And I think that in executives, it never could be more true that there are so many executives that are so desperate to hold on to a position that really they just shouldn't even be in. That they're not doing what they need to be doing. They're not experiencing the success they could be experiencing. And they're just there because they don't know what they would be if they weren't that. And you end up having people hold on to it until something's taken from them. And I think for me, I'm always looking at it as, am I bringing the right skills, and am I the right person for the role that I'm in to take this to the next level? Because if I'm not, I know that it's only a matter of time before everybody else figures that out. But if I am having that conversation earlier, it prompts the discussion of, okay, there's a deficiency. Can I hire for it? Can I build a system around it? And if the answer to those two things is no, it doesn't mean that there aren't answers. It just probably means that I don't know them, and I might need somebody who has them, and that person may replace me.
Right.
But again, going back to that fulfillment thing, what I find is I lose fulfillment and excitement if I'm not good at what I am doing. And Cal Newport has a great book on this called So Good They Can't Ignore You. And it kind of turns on its head this idea of like, follow your passion and you're going to be successful. He basically says, well, you got to understand, following your passion to be successful is not really a guaranteed path, but there is a much higher correlation between success and being good at what you do and loving what you do because you're good at it. So I think for me, that gets factored into my equation, where it's like, if I'm not good at what I'm doing and I'm not getting better at it, if I'm not progressing and it's a weakness I'm working on, but literally it's just this job requires things that I suck at, I'm not going to be happy at that job. And if I'm not happy at that job, I'm not going to do the job well. And if I'm not doing the job well, someone's going to give the job to somebody who will. So I think that there's a combination of the fulfillment element and a combination of what that job demands. But I think ultimately it's being willing to just take the time and ask yourself those tough questions. Like, look, is this for me? And, am I the right person for this? And I think a lot of people get caught up again in that ego, the hierarchy, the title thing. All of that's just noise that's really going to keep you from making the best decision for you and the best decision for the company.
Well, a lot of what you're talking about as far as enjoyment and getting better and better every day and being good at it, psychologically, that's really the definition of flow. You need to be able to see that you can totally get into a deep state of enjoyment, lose yourself, lose track of time. No wonder you like the LP Jacks quote as well, because a lot of what drives you, I think, is this sense of flow and fulfillment. But also it's like, am I incrementally improving every single day? Can I measure and see my success every single day? So I think that's really important. JCron, and we're going to work toward wrapping up. Thanks so much, by the way, for this. This has been fucking fantastic. How do you run your companies? I'm always fascinated by executive leadership. There's so many different strategies and ways and modalities and methodologies. How do you, in particular, run your companies? And like, is there a primary, focus for you? Because there's so much shit as an executive. There's so many different functions. And yes, you have a job title and you're the president, you're supposed to do certain things, but really, what do you focus on and how do you lead?
So I would say for me, it's definitely going to be a willingness to hold people accountable. That is the foundation of really, really great things. It's funny because you will meet so many executives and at seasons in my job, myself included, where the desire to be liked prompts you to be very, very ineffective.
Yeah.
People will hire somebody and then just basically take on their job and do their job because they're so much more comfortable just doing their job and working themselves to the bone than they are telling that person, hey, you're not cutting it. Need you to do better. Need you to be more focused. Need you to be more impactful. I think the accountability element probably is woven into everything. And for me, that's where it all starts. And however you manage the accountability, whether it's systems and reporting and there's a million and one theories on management, but the ultimate question is, what scoreboard are we accountable to? How often are we measuring it? To quote Joe Polish, who I think was quoting Dan Sullivan, that which is managed improves and that which is managed and reported improves exponentially. Measured improves and that which is measured and reported improves exponentially. So it's really something where if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And I think that that's something that right now is a bit of a tougher road to trod because a lot of the younger employed class is not very accustomed to measurement and scoreboards. It's a very foreign concept to them. So being able to find ways to language and orient them in the need for deadlines, deliverables, and achievement is something that really does require some nuance and some motivation. But ultimately, again, it's all on that foundation of accountability. Did we all do what we said we would do, the way we said we would do it, in the time we said we would do it?
And if someone isn't doing it, are you like, okay, I gotta work with this person. It's all about coaching and we're going to give them as many chances as possible because it's all about finding the right role for them? Or are you like, one strike, two strike, you're out, three strikes, this isn't right for you?
I would say I subscribe to the belief that the best gift you can give somebody is if they're not a fit for your organization, move them out of it so they can find a place that they are a fit for.
I love that.
I think that the idea that it's like, well, you need to just keep coaching them and keep moving them around, that's not good for them and it's not good for you. For you, it prompts a whole bunch of career counseling, which, let's be honest, if you're an executive or an entrepreneur, you're not a career counselor, you're going to suck at it. Mm-hmm. And if you add to that, you're just going to keep moving people between roles. They're going to constantly be, going back to that, knowledge set. And every time you move a role, you're starting over from that knowledge set. You're basically just putting somebody in a position where they continue to be set up to fail multiple times. And by the second or third time you move them, they're convinced that they can't do anything right. You're convinced that you're an idiot for moving them around so much, but you've kept them so long that now you feel terrible that you kept them around so long. We definitely believe in what we call a good goodbye. And the good goodbye is just, this isn't a fit. Yeah. And we don't really have a role right now that, we can effortlessly say this would be a fit. So we're going to hook you up with some severance and have you go find a place that you're a great fit for because you've got talent. There's going to be an organization that's thrilled to have you, but us keeping you on and pretending you're doing a good job when you aren't isn't going to be good for you and isn't going to be good for us.
It's like a breakup.
No, totally. It's one of those things too. You take somebody who's in their role and not good at it, all they're going to be is a distraction to everybody else because they're not good at their role. They don't know what to do. So they're going to run around trying to justify their own existence by creating chaos that you don't need because you have somebody that's not good at the role that they need to be in, but they are going to find a way to justify their existence. If somebody is in the organization, they're going to do everything possible to be visible. But sometimes that visibility comes from creating problems that aren't problems. And they're not doing it maliciously. They're just doing it because they're not meant to be in the role you have them in, and you're just not willing to let them go.
I couldn't agree with you more. It was one of the hardest lessons for me to learn as an entrepreneur. And the day I put my big boy pants on and grew up and realized that just because my compassion was high for that person and their situation, and they were with me since the beginning, and all of these things that are emotions lead us to feel and believe, ultimately I was doing that person and these people an injustice and a disservice, because closing that door really opens another door for them to be in the right place, for their lives to take the right turn that they need to, for them to feel the fulfillment that they need, because they're not fulfilled. Even if they put a face on and they act like they are and they're like, no, I'm good at this. Don't worry. Like, I'll figure it out. They're not deeply fulfilled the way you want them to be either. So it was a huge lesson for me.
You're doing them a disservice. And I would say, if anything we're talking about resonates with you, feel free to read anything by Brene Brown, or Radical Candor is another great book. If you're not having conversations that initially will make you uncomfortable, then you're setting your business up to fail. You're covering up weaknesses that, God forbid you succeed at scale, it will explode, and the mess will be all the bigger because you didn't have those conversations earlier on.
Yes. Crucial Conversations, another great book. And that, I think that was the one that really like slapped me in the ass and was like, get after it, Arman, like have the conversations. Thank you, JCron. I want to wrap up here with just one last thought from you. You talked a lot about fulfillment, and I'm curious if there was, a particular lesson in life that has really stood out in terms of how you have learned to create a more fulfilling life and not suffer and not, stay in situations that drain you. You've created a beautiful life for yourself. You work at a great company. You've built an amazing organization. You got this great family, and, I think there's a lot to learn from you. So I'm curious if there's a lesson that stands out around this.
Probably not. At the risk of, if there was a lesson, I would probably say it's more in the format of what I'm working on, because I would say that I definitely don't have any of it figured out. I'm not a very content person. I don't celebrate well. Any win I have is normally glossed over very quickly and moving on to whatever the next thing is. The quote that probably is out of a movie that I feel like I fall victim to more often than not is the main bad guy in Wall Street 2, when Shia LaBeouf basically says to him, look, you're in the game. What's your number? Everyone has a number. It's always oddly specific. What's your number that when you hit your number, you're done? And I forget the guy's name. He's a great actor, but he looks at him and he says, no, you're asking the wrong question. The answer is always more. And I think for me, I've become aware that there's a concept that Dan Sullivan talks about called the horizon. And it's sort of this idea that you can hop on a ship, make all the progress you want every single day sailing towards the sun, but you're never going to get there. So if you're measuring every day by, did I get to the horizon, you're never going to arrive. And so I think there's tremendous wisdom in viewing it in terms of the progress. So, I sailed 100 miles today versus did I get to the horizon or not? Because what I have noticed in my own life is now I'm approaching 39 and, I don't have the same amount of runway I had when I was 29 or 19. And if you stay locked into this idea of did I get to the horizon or it's always more, you're really going to be locked into a hedonic treadmill that's not going to serve you. And so I think for me, what I've really been working on more is what truly matters and what is just things that matter in the moment but don't have staying power. Everyone's bought a car that was like, this is transformational, but 3 months later you're like, yeah, whatever, I didn't really need it, I don't know why I got it, I should have just kept my old car. Or gosh, I really wanted this shirt, I bought it, now I don't wear it, I'm over it. Like really being able to discern what drives emotions and fulfillment that has staying power, I think is a journey that I'm on, and it's something that I'm learning about. But as it relates to any, profound insights on life, I don't know that I have any. I literally, it's get up, work hard, do more than anyone expects from you. And for me, that everything else has worked out.
I love it. Honest answer. Appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much for your time. This was fantastic. There it is, ladies and gentlemen, my episode with JCron. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you spending time with me today. JCron is an absolute machine, as you can tell. Make sure to support Kajabi. Check them out. I have links to all the resources and everything that was mentioned on today's episode at armanasadi.com/podcast. And you'll find this episode specifically with the links to all the various things that we talked about, along with the link to, as you heard, JCron's not big on the socials, but I linked to his LinkedIn if you want to connect with him there. Take care of yourself. Let me know what you enjoyed about this episode. That always makes my day. I love hearing what was interesting or insightful or helpful to you so that I can continue diving deep with more people on the show on those topics. Shoot me a text or an email is the best way to get in touch. Take care. Until next time. Peace.